After all the work done, praiseworthy work, thousands of men and women hours, we have ended up, let's be honest, with a document that in mere hours will become totally irrelevant. The governor will veto the massive tax increases and line item out the extra spending. To be fair, we are all together faced with only bad choices at this moment. But the governor's solution is the right one right now. And I'm the last person to be okay with us not making our pension payment. I don't like it any more than anyone else in this room. Unfortunately, it's the last and best choice that we have right now. The alternative solution, upon which this budget is built, massive tax increases, is the worst option. In order to avoid the discussion of the tough issues we are unquestionably going to have to face, the answer for my friends on the other side of the aisle always seems to be higher taxes. Such policies are exactly what got us into this situation. Both the highest tax state in the nation, or one of them, depending on who's doing the math, and the most strapped at the same time. We all know the definition of insanity, definition of stupidity by some people's definition, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Do the proponents of this massive tax increase really believe that this time, unlike every other time we tried it, this time massive tax increases will make everything all better? Of course they don't, and of course they won't. In our present tax structure, 400 people pay 10% of all the taxes. If only one out of those 4 people decides to figure out how to change their location of tax residency, it'll mean $325 million shortfall forever going forward in New Jersey. That's $325 million that all the rest of us will have to pay. That alone is enough for us to contrast the cost that we hear about over and over about us not making our pension payment. If you multiply that number going forward, and the other folks that will flee, the other businesses that will not be here or not create jobs, and you compound that, the costs to this tax increase are probably considerably higher than any interest we might have to pay on a delayed pension payment. Just 2 days ago, we celebrated the signing of the interest arbitration cap bill. We came together on a bipartisan basis and agreed on the unflinching reality of the math and passed honest legislation. We need that type of cooperation on our budget issues as well. The next year in New Jersey will be both a terrifying time and a time of great opportunity. We are on the cusp of insolvency. The answers to the plight may be difficult to implement, but they are easy to understand. We must have the courage to come together and to do the job we were elected to do. Higher taxes, such as those upon which this budget is balanced, are not the answer. As I've mentioned, we're already on one of the highest tax states in the nation. There is virtually no room there. We may have the ability to set tax rates. We have no ability to force people to stay here and pay them. On top of that, even if we did, it's bad policy regardless. The reason why we're in this situation is because high-income earners, the people that pay most of the bills in this state, have the ability to adjust when and where they will pay their taxes. Increasing our reliability on those people will only increase the volatility. Volatility only increases the impacts of mid-year budget cuts when we have a downturn. And who is hurt then? Public workers, because we can't do things like make pension payments. Schools, and the very people that we claim to care most about, those dependent on state services. Add in the fact about the effect it will have on our growth, and the policy becomes crystal clear about exactly how bad it is. The real answers aren't hard to identify about our present situation, about funding the things that the budget chairman had mentioned, transportation trust fund and others. We must have discussions about further pension reforms. We care about our public workers, but our present path is absolutely unsustainable. The reforms we did previously took us from what would have been 25% of our budget would go to pensions and brought it down to 13%. But a healthy pension system relative to a budget is half that again. We must discuss school funding, even if it means changing or challenging the Supreme Court. We could take $800 million and set it on fire behind this building and serve the children in some of our school districts better than they are now being served. School districts, we're paying upwards of $28,000 a student in state money, and they're still getting a lousy education. If nothing else, this moment of fiscal challenge should inspire us to face these challenges honestly. This budget doesn't even remotely suggest that we are ready to tackle the real reforms that we all know need to happen if we are going to avoid insolvency. Therefore, with all due respect, which I say is a considerable amount, to the Budget Chairman, whose character and sincerity and concern for these issues give me some hope that we really can move forward and conquer together some of these issues. Despite that hope, and partly because of it, I have to vote no on this budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.